Good morning, and welcome to the January 23rd Sunday service for the Unitarian Universalist Church of St. Petersburg. I'm John Motter, and I'm a member of this church, its worship committee, and its social justice committee. Reverend Ben has a day off, and so I will be the worship leader and in his place. The social justice committee is bringing you the service today, and this will include Reggie Craig and Karen Frank and myself. Janae Johnson will do the Time for All Ages. John Arterton and James Mack are doing the music and also helping with the live streaming. And although she isn't here today, Virginia Fox has collected some quotes from volunteers and recipients of our social justice work. And we have those sprinkled throughout the service so you can get an idea of what we are doing and how we are helping. I also want to recognize Karen Cole and Pat Fling for their lead work on the subcommittees of the Social Justice Committee. And we could never achieve this without the help of numerous people from the congregation, and I thank you for that. I'll ask them to be a little bit bold, brag a little bit, but if you're watching, type into the chat what you do and how you help out. I think it's really important that you be recognized. And since you aren't here, I can't make you stand up in front of a crowd. So our greeters today are Leah Cannon and Jamie Gray, and I thank them for being here. For those people that are coming in unaware that we're doing a streaming live, and so we welcome our visitors as well. We are a people of many beliefs, but we share a common faith that what we do in this world matters, and that we are connected to one another and to our planet. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your journey, you are welcome here. I want to give special welcome to any newcomers. And if you want a church where Black Lives Matter, where love knows no gender, where we build bridges, not walls, I've got some good news for you. You may have found your church home. Now, let's take a minute to center ourselves for the worship.
Good morning. I'm Karen Frank, a member of this church and of the Social Justice Committee. I manage our fair trade sales of coffee, tea, and chocolate, which have been temporarily suspended during the pandemic. Here are this morning's announcements. Because of Omicron, we are meeting online for worship. We hope that rates drop as quickly as they've risen so we can once again gather in the church, with live streaming still being an option. Today's virtual coffee hour will follow the worship service. The link will be in the text chat. The documentary, Racially Charged, America's Misdemeanor Problem, will be shown via Zoom on Wednesday, February 2nd. The film exposes how our country's history of racial injustice evolved from an enormous abuse of criminal justice power. 13 million people a year, most of them poor and people of color, are abused by this system. The 35-minute documentary will be followed by a short discussion. It highlights why FAST is working to expand the county's civil citation program. Spiritual guidance, formerly known as religious studies, will begin on February 17th at 2 p.m. Details will follow in the newsletter. We'll light our chalice. The flaming chalice is a symbol of the Unitarian Universalism. It is the symbol of hope, the sacred, the quest for truth, the warmth of community, the light of reason, and so much more. When Reggie lights our chalice, I invite you to say our covenant out loud. The words can be found in the text chat. Please follow along with the new hand movements. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, truth and love, and to help one another.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way. On the road from greed to giving, love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way. On the road from greed to giving, love will guide us through the hard night.
Good morning. I'm Reggie Craig, a member of this church and serve on the Social Justice Committee, where some of our outreach includes a Friday night picnic, tiny homes for homeless veterans. I'd like to read this quote from a UUSP volunteer. I work for a community service agency in California. It was my first time I got to know the working class families in need. Their jobs were cut. They couldn't find work due to ill health. These were not lazy people. These were not people taking advantage of the system. All I want to be is able to work and give my family healthy meals, I often heard. They were sad but grateful for any help they could get to help them up, to help them move forward.
Philip Morris, a renowned Vipassana, which is insight meditation teacher, writes, "With goals, the future is always the focus. You are going to reach the goal. Are you going to reach the goal? Will you be happy when you do? What's next?" Setting intention, at least according to Buddhist teachings, is quite different than goal making. It is not oriented toward future outcome. Instead, it is a path or practice that is focused on how you are being in the present moment. Goals help you make your place in the world and be an effective person. But being grounded in intention is what provides integrity and unity in your life. What would it be like if you didn't measure the success of your life just by what you get and don't get, but gave equal or greater priority to how aligned you are with your deepest values?
We always want to help where we can. Always try to be good people and kind. It's important because it's the right thing to do. We don't have money to give, but we have our time, said by a UUSP volunteer. Now is the time in our worship service where we do joys, sorrows, and concerns. We're changing it up slightly this week, and we're only having you type it into the text, and we won't be reading it. We'll just, this should make things a little bit smoother as we go forward today, and we're welcome to feedback on this change. I'd like to put a stone in the water for our representation at the MLK parade. We made the press and made a difference and made our church visible. I'd also like to put a stone that, hoping COVID numbers have peaked and that we'll see a downward slope from Omicron. And finally, on joys, I want to add a joy for the support I've gotten from all of you, the cards I've gotten, the emails I've gotten, and my pneumonia. I'm actually feeling much, much better, and so I can be here today with you. Now for some concerns. I want to put a stone of concern for Kelly Olson and her son Luke. Luke was diagnosed with COVID this week. I'd also like to put a stone in the water for Roe versus Wade and what will happen in the next week as the Supreme Court looks at arguments and hears arguments. I'd also like to put a stone in the water for the concern that the Voting Rights Act didn't pass and how that will impact us when we don't allow people who have a right to vote express their vote, which is part of the American rights. And finally, I'd like to place a stone for those things that are too uncomfortable for you to share today, but I hope that things work out. So let us take a moment of silence together. The mystery is that we are connected, even when we feel apart. Let us rejoice in our beloved community that makes the many one. So may it be.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Just think about the kids. It's not their fault they are hungry. I see them come in our food bank with their parent. Their eyes tell a story of hardship and hunger. After getting their food, their eyes say, thanks, better than words. Aaliyah, food bank volunteer. And now, Janae with Time for All Ages.
Good morning, good morning. Wonderful chilly morning this morning. You all are so lucky at home, bundled up in your beds. My name is Janae Johnson. I'm here to share the story for all ages this morning. First off, I would like to thank John Motter for selecting the story. It's wonderful. Stay tuned. Higgins, A Drop with a Dream by Christopher Buse. Once upon a time, there was a drop of water named Higgins. Higgins was no ordinary drop of water. He was a drop with a dream. Higgins lived in a valley where it had not rained in a very long time, so all the lovely green grass was turning brown, and the beautiful flowers were wilting, and all the trees were starting to droop. Higgins had a dream that one day the valley would be a beautiful place again. But what could he do? After all, he was only a drop of water. So one day, Higgins decided to travel and tell others about his dream. All the other drops listened very politely, but no one believed that his dream would come true. "Higgins," one said, "get your head out of the clouds. You can't spend your whole life dreaming." Higgins decided that he had to do something to make his dream come true, so he began to think and think and think. One day, as he was walking by a rusty old bucket, he got an idea. If enough of us drops of water get together in this bucket, Higgins thought, there would be a beautiful enough water to sprinkle a few flowers to help them grow, become beautiful again. Eagerly, Higgins told everyone about his great idea, but everyone thought he was being foolish. "That Higgins is nothing but a dreamer," a drop said. So, Higgins ran as fast as he could, hopped way in the air, and landed with a kerplunk in the bucket, then the bottom of the bucket. And there he sat, just a drop in the bucket. For a long time, Higgins was very lonely. It seemed like no one else was going to join him, but after a while, some of the other drops could see that the grass was dying, and the flowers were wilting, and the trees were drooping. They all agreed that something must be done. Suddenly, one drop shouted, "I'm going to get in the bucket with Higgins." And he leaped through the air and landed kerplunk in the bucket. Then two other drops yelled, "Wait for us!" And they hopped through the air and landed in the bucket. And then hundreds of drops came in from all around just to hop in the bucket. Soon, the bucket was completely full of water. But there were still more drops that wanted to join, so they found another bucket and hopped in. Before long, there were 2 buckets of water, then 3, then 4, then 10, then hundreds, then thousands of buckets of water. Along came a powerful breeze that blew over the buckets, and all of the water flowed together to make a mighty stream. Everywhere the water flowed, the grass turned green again, and the flowers bloomed, and the trees stood tall and straight once more. All this happened because Higgins had a dream, and his dream came true. Because he knew that although he was just a drop in a bucket, enough drops in the bucket make a bucket full. And when there are enough buckets and the wind behind them as well, then justice will roll down like the waters in righteous rivers of a mighty stream. So thank you all for tuning in this morning. Stay warm.
If not now, tell me when. If not now, tell me when. We may never see this moment or place in time again. If not now, tell me when. I see sorrow and trouble in this land. I see sorrow and trouble in this land. Although there will be trouble, we'll make the change we can. If not now, tell me when. If not now, tell me when. If not now, tell me when. We may never see this moment or place in time again. If not now, tell me when. I may never see the promised land. I may never see the promised land. and yet we'll take the journey and walk it hand in hand. If not now, tell me when. If not now, tell me when. If not now, tell me when. We may never see this moment or place in time again. If not now, tell me when.
We'll work it till it's done.
Every daughter, every son, every soul that ever longed for something better, something brighter.
It will take a change of heart for this to mend.
It will take a change of heart for this to mend. But miracles do happen, every shining now and then. If not now, tell me when.
If not now,
tell me when. Tell me when.
If not now,
tell me when. Tell me when. We may never see this moment or place in time again. If not now, tell me when. We may never see this moment or place in time again. If not now, tell me when. If not now, tell me when.
Thank you, John and James, for the beautiful singing and those powerful lyrics. The second reading comes from Marilyn Miller, as quoted in A Life of One's Own. At least, I had at least begun to guess that my greatest need might to be let go and be free from the drive after achievement, if only I dared. I had also guessed that perhaps when I had let these go, then I might be free to become aware of some other purpose that was more fundamental, not self-imposed private ambitions, but something which grew out of the essence of one's own nature. People said, "Oh, be yourself at all costs." But I found that it was not so easy to know just what oneself was. It was far easier to want what other people seemed to want and then imagine that the choice was one's own. It was only when I was actively passive and content to wait and watch that I really knew what I wanted.
Samantha said, so used to wearing masks. Samantha said, I saw what it was like. I was addicted and couldn't keep a job. I knew I could die at any moment, and it wouldn't matter. I was worthless. I lived in my car. My friends were on the street. But one day, my friend got lucky. She had a sister who found her and gave her a chance. She went to rehab and never forgot me. I agreed to get clean and sober, and she was my angel. I have to give back. I'm so grateful for the second chance. I want to help others. I work for a food bank. I want you to know that not everyone on the street is a bad person. Justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. It's just 7 words. You would think that with the second principle being so short that it would be easy to embrace and apply to our lives. But we know that's not the case. If it was that easy, there would be no need to have Friday night picnic, no need for Black Lives Matter. We wouldn't wake up and read about a murder of another black man by a law enforcement officer. All schools would be similar in terms of available technology, achievement scores, extracurricular activities. We would not have separated children from their parents and put them in cages. The really sad thing is that these things are not rarities, but hopefully we all realize that we are capable of being part of the change. We know that it takes intention to ensure that the impact of our work is something that is wanted, is needed, is positive. Nationwide, the coronavirus pandemic has thrown approximately 10 million more residents into food scarcity. That includes 4 million more children. In 2019, and this is before COVID numbers, there were about 122,000 people living with food scarcity just in Pinellas County. In the different Fast House meetings, we found that it often came up that some of our neighbors in the South St. Pete lost an important food source because they could not fish due to red tide. In 2021, the prices for rent in Tampa Bay increased by a record 24%. Prices of goods and services, as you know, have risen. The stress of living under COVID has increased the need for more mental health and substance abuse services. This was an industry that was already overburdened. These factors and more weigh heavy on the shoulders of many within our community. Do they skip medicine? Do they skip meals? Do they get evicted and lose their place to live? The atmosphere within our country further contributes to many of these factors. Can we count on a divided government to help solve these issues? It's hard to have faith when we can't even seem to agree on the effectiveness of wearing masks or getting a vaccination. Where does one even start? What are the actual causes of the problem? What will we do to fix the problems? Who's in charge of fixing the problems? How do we decide what the outcomes are that we want? For many, it really is too overwhelming to comprehend, so they do nothing. Some know everything, and they do it with the best of intentions, but the solution they provide has negative impacts that they hadn't thought about. While others act in their own best interests for the greater good, and then unfortunately, many people are so overwhelmed that they just do nothing. So again, where does one start? One starts by not giving up. One starts by being Higgins and leaping into that bucket. Higgins knew and had faith in himself, and he understood the power of just one drop and what it could do. I would argue that we begin to make progress when we focus less on the goals and more on how we can impact the lives through intentional actions, and if we live in the moment. Yes, the goal is important, but it's not as important as making forward progress. Our church is full of Higgins. So many of you are doing fantastic work, things that really make a difference in our community. But I want to point out just a few that spotlight what one or two people can do. The Woods and Warriors Scholarship came about because artist Jane Bunker volunteered at the Carter G. Woodson Museum. In the first year, Jane was able to sell 17 paintings, which along with some private donations raised $43,000. With the help of her husband, Mason Morfitt, they have continued to grow the scholarship program and expand the contribution base. And best of all, recipients of scholarships, most of whom are the first in their family to attend college, maintain absolutely impressive grade point averages, and show leadership qualities. I want to go a little bit international with the next one and talk about Carol Ulmer and her work with the Coimbe International. Carol began volunteering for this Kenyan-based educational organization when she retired in 2014. The organization operates in the Busia district in western Kenya near the Ugandan border. It's a short distance from where I stayed in Kenya, and it's truly rural. But that hasn't stopped her efforts. The group's 2019 annual report notes some impressive accomplishments, including giving 46,000 students access to books, offering daily lunch to 225 students and 35 staff members. It should be noted that in Kenya, public schools don't provide the books. Students have to buy them. And so this is impressive that they were able to serve that many people. As an example of Coimbe's ripple effect, and when we put a stone in the water and watch those ripples, 4 independent organizations in Kenya are replicating Coimbe's model. Since Virginia and Cal Fox aren't here, I can talk about them pretty freely. Virginia is so humble that I know if she was here, she wouldn't talk about what she's done. But she's managed to do an impressive thing in food scarcity. On her own, Virginia started collecting food for the Southside Bridge. As it started to grow, she moved it under the church's social service umbrella. She's expanded the effort to include donations to Daystar. It's all really impressive work, and Virginia's own words describe it best. She says, "I believe the ultimate gift I've received from a lifetime of working is moving into St. Petersburg, finding a nonprofit, human resource agencies, and the UUSP Church. My freedom from working gives me a new purpose. My flexibility allows time and experience to help others. This is a small payback for a lifetime of work. Helping our hungry neighbors feeds our hearts and soul, and making a difference in someone's lives makes a difference in my own." So what do churches and various social justice programs and the ones I've highlighted have in common? First, they have people that have made intentional efforts to better our community and make change. And they feel really strongly about that. But the second point that I'd argue that they have in common is that they have listened to the needs of the community, what they wanted versus putting on a cape to fly in and save the situation. Through educating themselves on the issues, listening to the community on what their needs are, they've developed relationships throughout St. Pete. Any of you that have listened to me in the past know that almost always I include an ask, and today's no different than that. Many of you already give your time to various charities and organizations, and I truly applaud that. We really do make a huge difference. But if you could, take some time to consider doing just a little bit more. We are in really scary times with elections coming up and the various actions to limit participation in our countries. Please stay tuned to the weekly newsletter for any requests to write letters to your elected officials. They are important and they make a difference. The second thing I ask you to consider is joining us for one evening at FAST Nehemiah Action, which is on March 28th, where we will be asking elected officials from across our county to agree on adopting some community-based solutions. This year's issues include affordable housing, criminal justice and the use of civil citations rather than arrests, and climate issues related to increased flooding, red tide, and much more. Because of COVID, the form of that Nehemiah action is still undetermined. It will likely be some sort of hybrid event involving Zoom like it did last year. It may be that we do a drive-in thing where you drive your car so that you can remain socially distanced, but watch from the parking lot of one of the community churches. Or it may be something else where we're able to meet in multiple locations where we can maintain that social distance. And the last choice that we want to have is that it will be truly just live, but having many people watching. Stay tuned, because as we get closer to that date, these issues will be determined. I want to thank all of you for being part of this caring congregation. It's one of the reasons I enjoy being a member of it, and one of the reasons I used to come and sit in the pew. But where I now always sit on the couch, drinking my coffee and watching the services. Thank you.
Thank you, John. To keep our congregation thriving, let us remember our connection to one another, and let us not forget our contributions to support the means to those connections. Also, this is Share the Plate service, in which half of the non-pledged offerings will benefit the Friday night picnic and its efforts to improve accessibilities for volunteers. If you are a newcomer here, please refrain from making a donation. This service is our gift to you, and your presence is your gift to us. The link to give is in the description box below your screen. You can also donate through the Vanco Faith Engagement mobile app or on our website under the Giving tab at uustpete.org, or by sending a check to the church office. Many thanks.
Thank you, Aaron. It's really nice to hear the organ being played within the sanctuary. I leave you with these words from Andrea Hawkins Camper. May we be the ones to make it as it should be. This is the work we are called to do, and this is the call we answer now, to be a people of intention and a people of conscience. Now, feel free to follow along with hand gestures as I extinguish our chalice. The words to UUSP's traditional chalice extinguishing are hopefully in the text chat. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of love, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world. Go in peace. I hope to see you at coffee hour. And we thank all of you for coming and watching.